Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to learn how to make this infinity pendant. So we will need to know how to do two different types of weaves. This one is, we have 3 base wires, and then this one is just going to be a single spiral weave, and then you will need 2 beads for this particular design. I believe those are 5mm beads, I want to say. I will double check that and write it into the video, but let's go ahead and get started. We will start off using 20 gauge wire. We're going to cut 3 pieces, each of them 8 inches in length. And now for our weaving wire, we will use 28 gauge wire. So let's call this like a 2-2 weave. So we're going to pick up our 3 base wires, and let's start. In total, we're going to do about 3 inches of weave, and so let's come in like 2.5 inches from the left side. Okay, actually it might be easier if you just start with your middle piece to get it going. If you're right-handed, of course, use your right hand. Place the weaving wire on the back side of the middle wire and grip it with your index finger and your thumb. Make sure you have that space from the left side. And that tail is there to make sure you have something to grip onto as you get the weave started, because if you don't have a tail, or if you do one coil around and then you trim it off, when you start to do more coils around, it's just going to spin around the wire. So this is just there to secure it and hold it in place while you do your weave. So we're going to do about 2 coils just to attach it, and then pick up the bottom wire, place it on the bottom side, and then your top wire. And I'm placing these in front of the well, heck, what's it called? The tail and the weaving wire down here. So to do this weave, we're going to start on the back side. Make sure it's not too bright. And come around the top. You're going to go over the first and the second wire. And then do that one more time. Come up and around and stay right there. Okay, so we're 2 coils around the bottom. Now we want to wrap twice over the middle and the top wire. So now we're going to go between wires 1 and 2, and then up and over the top wire. Do that same thing again. Go between wires 1 and 2, up and over the top, and then from here to go back down over wires 1 and 2, all the way down on the back side, and then come up and around. Ooh, sometimes things get twisted. Go between the middle and the top wire again. And after every few coils, make sure you're squishing everything together so it's nice and compact. So we see we have where we started the weave, 2 over the bottom 2 wires and 2 over the top 2, and then 2 over the bottom 2. Let's do that again. Now we're going to go between wires 1 and 2, around the top, between wires 1 and 2, over the top. Squish it together. Go ahead and do one more round of that. So we just went over the very top wire. We're coming down the back side, up and around, between the top and the middle wire, squish it in, up and around, squish it in. Your nails can really take a beating from all the squishing. And now go between wires 1 and 2, up and over the top wire, in between wires 1 and 2, up and over the top wire. So we're going to continue with this weave for about 3 inches. Finish the weave, but I did lie to you. We're only doing 2.5 inches of this weave, not 3. I'm a liar. Okay, so now we can, so be sure when you get to the end of your weave, you want to always practice at least putting 1 or 2 single coils around a single base wire. And that's good practice, because if I ended with like one of my coils over both of the wires, it's more likely to come unraveled, the process, than it is just around one wire. So make sure you're attached to one single wire at the end, and then use your cutting tool, trim off the tail on that side, and you can go ahead and trim off the tail at the beginning. All right, now we need the beads. And I did check on the size of the bead. These are in fact 5mm beads. So we're going to go to one end of the weave and take the outside wire. Let's bend that down to a 90-degree angle and place the bead on that wire. Now from here, we're going to start to fold the weave around the bead. Sometimes they're kind of hard to hold on to, so my hands are sweaty. I don't know why. Like, ever since I moved back to Arizona, my hands and my feet are like so sweaty. Isn't that so good to know? You're welcome. Okay. And now so I'm coming all the way around. These other ones are just gonna hang out. This one's gonna stay on the top like so. And then to keep the shape of this, might use a pair of like flat pliers, and then just go in and kind of pop that weave around like that. Okay, very good. Now we're going to start to curve this into an S. And then from here, you're going to take this wire, bend him, and place your other bead on that wire. Voila. There we go. And now start to roll. Sometimes there's just no grip on anything. You have to get creative. There we go. And you can, once you kind of get it going, you could even grip this. My gosh. Doesn't want to cooperate. There. Ah. Finally. So we're rolling in. And then it'll just be adjusting it. We want to try to get, I mean, you could leave it out like this. That's still kind of cool. But to get it more like this one up here, we want to try to get these beads a little closer together. So just work each side in until it's where you want it. And then you can go back and adjust things. I'm laughing because I find myself holding my breath because I notice that like I breathe right into the camera. Sounds like I have breathing problems, but I don't. Now I'm trying to hold my breath so you can't hear me breathe. I'm self-conscious about my breathing. Okay, next I'm going to flip this over to the back side so we can get our wires situated. So the two from the top are going this direction, and the two on the bottom in this direction. Et voila. All right, now this guy we don't even need. Unless you wanted, okay, this is kind of cool. You could make this into a different type of pendant. Using these two wires, you could coil it around like I'll show you how to do, but on both sides, and then you could attach a necklace chain to it or place it like on a bracelet, and your infinity sign would hang this way instead of straight up and down like this one. Your choice. Okay, so we don't need him for this design, so we're just going to curl him around. Trim him off like so. And then whenever I trim something like this, I like to go in with my pliers and put a little hook on him so that the tip of that wire is pointing in toward your pendant and not outward, so it can scratch your skin or your clothes. All right, now we're going to take the top wire here and the bottom wire here. All right, so I'm going to cut off a chunk, I don't know, like an arm span worth of 28 gauge wire. Anytime I'm doing a single wire wrap, it's always easier to work off of the spool because of the way you move. It tends to really kink up if you keep it attached to the spool. So I'm going to cut it off, and we're going to start it like we did the other weave with a little, what's the word? With a little tail on there, and just, oops, I'm sorry, yeah, we're going to do the top. My bad. And we're going to come around once, twice, just do a couple spirals around here to get it going, and then squish it all together and push that sucker down. Now you've got him going. And notice how I'm using my finger to kind of guide around, because if you do this really loose, you're going to have a lot of problems. We want to keep the wire with a little tension in it. So I'm kind of guiding it around so that when I do squish everything together, it stacks up next to each other nice and clean. So just keep spiraling around. After a few, squish it together. I am not sure how much of this we actually need, and I don't always like to give precise measurements on every single thing because it allows you to know how to work and use variations or like gauge it as you go, which is a good skill to have. So if this is enough, what we want to do is pull this around. Ooh, and I'm a little short, and that's okay. Like, I can just keep going because I want my weave to get all the way around to the back side before it's done. So I gauged it. I know I need a little bit more, So I'll continue on. Boop. Okay, let's check again. Kind of shape that around. So I want to hold that shape there, but then I want these two sides to kind of pinch in together and come around to the back side. And it looks like we had enough. So let's go to the back side of this. We can go ahead and trim off the weaving wire. If there's any pieces that are still sticking up, be sure to make sure they're squished down or tucked in. And then this, I suppose we could have done this on the bottom side, but I guess I trimmed that prematurely. If we wanted to, we could secure this side around that top wire. Just put a little loop on him and then trim. And then squish. Here's my squishy. You're my squishy. I'm going to squeeze him down so there's no gaps. And then over here, just make sure it's the shape you want. If you need to open it up or kind of press it down. Like so. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing to the other side. What's this wire from? Something I didn't trim? Don't need you. Go away. All right, now the two wires that are on the left side, we're going to be working with just the bottom wire. So grab another piece of 28 gauge wire and start wrapping. Boop. 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 Boop boop boop. Boop. I'm starting to go crazy. Okay, now that tail from the beginning, of course, we can go in and find a good place in there to trim. And then again, make sure that he's like pushed down. KO. Same thing here, fold it over. Kind of hold this side so you can shape it around. And squish. Of course, make sure you go in and adjust the shape as you like. Trim your weaving wire. And it looks like I need to adjust him a little bit. To kind of overbend him. There we go. Okay, so I'm pretty satisfied with the look of that. So on the back side, because we trimmed this guy early, now if he was still straight out, you could attach him the same way we did over here. But if he's cut off, then you'll just go in and trim this wire. Take this guy, and I would just make a whole hook. Oh boy, it was kind of ugly. So we got a hook on that, and then just squish him down. And he should stay there in place, be fine. Okay, now these other two wires, we don't need them, so we're gonna trim them just the same as we did on the other ones. Trims them off. Pow. And then come in with your pliers. You can put a hook on them. I always like to do that because then they're less likely to jump up and scratch you. Like so. And maybe I'll just do like that. All right, so they're out of the way. Everything is tucked in. Do make sure you go around and check. Make sure there's not, oh, I felt a little scratchy in there. Where is it? Ah, you gotta test it. I see him. Go in, trim him off, push everything down. Always need to test, especially if you're selling your jewelry. A lot of times I like to wear the piece for a little bit just to make sure that it is wearable and it's not going to scratch anyone. But sometimes you don't have time to make sure. So you need to go through and really rub your hands all over it. Make sure it's not going to scratch you. Now the last thing we'll do here is make the top of the bail. So you can use bail pliers or round nose pliers. Grip it at the base, and we're going to do like a 45-degree angle, and then choose the size of the loop that you want at the top. Bring it around. Make sure it's where you need it. Then I kind of pull it away so that I can wrap this wire around. And then trim it off. And of course, you know it, squish. And then just kind of pull him back. Voila, you have your pendant. Now, if you have a jump ring, here you could, if you didn't want to use a jump ring, you could just turn this to the side and put it on your cord. Otherwise, you're going to grab a jump ring, and I have to tell you, if you don't know what this is a jump ring opener. Funny story, when I first started making jewelry, I ordered a little case of jump rings, and this came like complimentary with it, and I would say for like a month or two I had no idea what this was. I'm like, is it a weird ring? Like, I was trying to put it on my hands. I'm like, it doesn't really fit. It's kind of ugly. I did not get it until I saw someone using it in a video, and I was like, holy crap. I've got one of those. And at first I didn't need it because all my jump rings were really easy to open just with my hands. But as you start using thicker gauge wire, you definitely will need one of these to open it, or you can, if it's too hard to open and you don't have one of those rings, you can use 2 pliers to open it. So let's put that on. Close it up. And there we have it. 2 nice little infinity pendants. All right, thanks again so much for watching, y'all. I'm gonna put a link over here because these have not been patinaed yet. If you want your copper to have that antique look to it, which will bring out a lot of contrast, and the copper is going to oxidize naturally on its own, which means it's just going to start getting kind of darker, like a brownish coating over the top of it. So you can check out this video over here and learn how to patina your jewelry. I really hope you enjoyed this video, everyone. Be sure to leave me a comment below if you did, if you have any questions or suggestions, and also be sure to subscribe to my channel to receive more tutorials, and I will be back with another one soon. Thanks so much, everyone.